Hey guys, I'm David Ridings, and this is my wife, Linda Ridings, who you heard yawn right before that little intro. Yeah, we can hear you yawn, Linda.
I'm so sorry.
So we are live on 2 or 3 different platforms actually right now. We're live on Facebook, I Still Have Breath. We're live on the YouTube, I Still Have Breath. And we're live on Stand Against Dark Blue on Facebook. And that's what we do. We do commentary on things that are in the news, and some of these things are kind of colliding under the same platform. I mean, we founded this ministry in 2020 called I Still Have Breath, and it's based upon everything that Satan has attacked in 2020 and during the decade of pay on the Jewish calendar. So some of you understand that. If you're a Christian, you understand that. And if you're not, you need to be watching anyway, because you'll learn something here that might be useful. We're going to watch the HD footage of Bryant. And I'm curious. I want to know what you think. Hey, Wendy, I want to know what you think about whether or not this is justified use of force, a justified police shooting, or if this is murder. And you're going to be on one side or the other, most likely. But we're going to show the video. It's again, like I say, every time we come on here, it's hard to watch. It's a sensitive piece of footage. So if you're squeamish, you may not want to watch it. But we'll be back in just a minute with that video. Well, hey guys, I'm David Ridings, and this is Linda Ridings with I Still Have Breath and Stand Against Dark Blue. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be a cool show tonight. We've got several things that are in the news with regard to this new shooting in Columbus, Ohio. Linda has seen this video, but she saw it right before we went live, so she hasn't really studied it. But I'm curious. Let's see if I can find it. Good grief. That's not it.
Arriving at 3171 Legion Lane on the left.
Hey. What's going on? Hey, what's going on? Hey, 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 get down, get down, get down, get down.
No, you ain't shoot my fucking baby. You shot my baby. Are you fucking serious?
So I've slowed this down for you. I wanted to just point some things out before you see them. And we're going to go through this in slow motion twice. It's 50% right now, and then we're going to go down to 10% so you can see frame by frame, because it's really very critical that you see frame by frame. And thank God this officer had his body cam on, because if he didn't have his body cam on, nobody would have supported his story. They would have said they planted the knife or something. And you have to understand, and if you've never been a police officer, you don't understand this probably, but you don't know what you're going to encounter when you go to a call like this. He was sent to this call. Hey, Rick, he was sent to this call by a 911 call. And the 911 call said, hey, these girls are fighting over here and they're stabbing us, or they're trying to stab us. And, we need some help. Well, when the media reported on this later, they cut that part out about the stabbing us. And they did a really very poor job of journalism and basically cut out part of the body cam that showed the girl actually stabbing at the other girl, and then said later, well, and a knife was found nearby or something. And it was just really NBC did a terrible job. And well, they did a great job at promoting their narrative, which is what they were trying to do. But this is 50% slow motion. This officer had 15 seconds from the time he set his feet on the ground till he had to make a decision between which life was going to see another day. Put that volume down. I'll turn that right before you can see exactly where. Now I've timed this. Those 4 shots took less than a second to actually shoot. He shot 4 times in less than a second. From the time that he sees the knife and draws his weapon, less than 5 seconds transpired before he's having to make a decision on which life to save.
Back up.
Is she shot?
She had a knife. She just went at her.
She's a fucking kid, man.
Well,
Damn, are you stupid?
and
A fucking kid?
they're fussing at him because she's a kid. That doesn't matter in my eyes. She's a kid with a knife. If she had a gun, it wouldn't. It's no different than if she had a gun. She had a knife, and she was in the stabbing motion. And we've got protesters in the street. We've got politicians calling for justice for Makia. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's just ludicrous. So he's seen this. He's seen the knife. He tells her to get down, get down. And I think it just took him all by surprise. He never says drop the knife, but he says get down, get down, get down. And then she doesn't. She was intent on stabbing this girl in the pink. She already tried to stab the girl that's on the ground. And you got this guy here in the hoodie that's kicking the fire out of the other girl's head. And a lot of people are criticizing this officer for shooting 4 times. Honestly, he probably, when it was over, he probably didn't realize how many times he had fired that weapon. I promise you. And you're in the middle of that adrenaline cascade, and you're a police officer, and you've pulled your gun, and you're having to fire on somebody else. Everything shuts down. You don't. I mean, you literally lose blood out of your brain because it all goes to your torso, and it's just something your body does to protect itself when you have that kind of adrenaline or that kind of scare. And you lose, fine motor skills and extremity type functions, hearing. Your hearing is diminished. Your vision is diminished. That's why people say they get tunnel vision. They don't have peripheral vision. He was laser focused on what the threat was, but he was able in 15 seconds to get out of his car, identify the threat, and shoot. And let's look at his scenery here. This officer is able to identify the threat and fire on the threat, hitting nobody else. He didn't hit the girl in the pink. He didn't hit this guy over here in the hoodie who's kicking the girl on the ground. Grandma over here standing behind the guy, this girl in the street, and the dog at their feet. I mean, he was able to identify the threat and had great marksmanship. I can't say anything that he did wrong at all. I mean, I probably would have said drop the knife. I think. I don't know. If I'd been in that situation and it just took me, because he was like, what in the world's happening here? You got this girl coming over and falling down and this guy kicking somebody. And, how in the world do you process all of that if you're not trained? And police officers are trained in these use of force, shoot or don't shoot scenarios. They go through dozens of them in the academy. And this is one. This was a real life situation. Shoot or don't shoot. He had literally less than 5 seconds to decide. And if he made the wrong decision, the girl in the pink could likely be dead. because
Yeah, she was
with the
swinging that knife.
stabbed her in the throat, could have stabbed her in the chest, could have stabbed her in the head, in the temple. She had her. The other girl was in kind of a defensive position, but was not going to be able to wield off that attack. So thanks everybody for your comments. Was there a weapon pointed at this officer? No, this was a knife. This was a protection of somebody else use of force. You're able to use deadly force in protection of yourself or someone else. But the force being used against the someone else has to be imminent and it has to be deadly. In other words, it can't be the force used towards you has to be deadly force and imminent. But it's a much harder thing to prove when you're trying to defend a third party. And so you got to be double dog sure that you can prove that it was imminent threat and deadly force. There was a knife headed into the body of another human. That's true. Rick says, so there was a weapon involved in hurting another human being. Wendy says, my kid, kid my butt. Okay. She knew darn well what she was doing. Another job done by these officers protecting the public. Yep.
Well, and she intended to sink that blade into this.
Rick says, I agree. Linda, what say you, the average juror?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear what she intended to do with that knife. She wasn't going to just cut her and play around. She was running, swung her arm back and was going to jab it in as deep as it would go. I mean, I don't think there's any question. I don't know why she was in such a rage though. I mean, I have other questions here. Like what was going on? Because she came at the other girl first. The girl fell on the ground and then she ran at the girl in the pink. And that man went to kick the girl on the ground too. So it wasn't just her, and she was in a rage.
Oh yeah.
So why was she in that rage? What was going on?
Yeah, that I don't know the answer to.
And they called 911, so it's not something that just popped up. They had enough time to call 911, and the cops respond.
Yeah, this girl was 16 years old that was killed.
Yeah, and she was in a rage. I mean, she wasn't just mad. I mean, because those people were leaving the house. She came running out of the house at those girls. The girl in the pink was outside and then was just probably surprised that she was coming at her.
Yeah, if you watch the video again, the girl in the pink's just kind of standing by like she's not involved at first.
Yeah, like I need to know more. I need to know what was going on there. Like why was she flowing into such a rage?
Well, you want to know that, but you don't need to know it.
Well, I didn't need to know it. I need to, as the average juror, I want to know because there's always more to these stories than what we're getting. Always.
What I'm saying is you don't need to know in defense of this officer what was going on. It doesn't matter what was going on. This officer gets out of his car and he sees this fight. This girl's going to stab this other girl. He had no time to even consider what was going on.
This is a big, this is a domestic violence situation where there were two families or two friends or somebody was going to get hurt. No question.
Yeah.
So the question was, did the officer let the woman stab the other one? Or does he defend her? And I saw something.
Let's play that out in our head real quick. So the officer doesn't shoot, and
the other girl gets hurt and stabbed.
And then it's, he
didn't do enough.
Black Lives Matters here. Black Lives Matter. Which Black Life matters? Was it the black life in the pink or the black life with the knife? And if the officer doesn't shoot the knife wielding girl who is intent on stabbing somebody, she's already, I don't know if you saw it in the beginning.
Well, then it'd be a different story. And they'd be mad about the girl in the pink not being saved.
Yeah. She slashed at the other girl who fell down. And because the girl tripped over, I guess her own 2 feet or whatever, she was
I think she stumbled. She was backing up.
And thank God she fell because the other girl was swiping at her with this knife.
And thank God she was quick enough to get up before that man kicked her in the head. Because he was obviously trying to kick her in the head. So something was going on and it was a family affair.
Yeah.
So
to the officer's credit, it doesn't matter what was going on. We don't need to know what was going on. We need to know what the officer saw, what he was faced with, what choice did he have?
And like you said, 15 seconds is not a long time.
That's from the time he got out of the car. From the time that he saw the knife, it's less than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You see him pull his firearm.
That's pretty incredible.
He's like, whoa, what are you doing with that knife? And he pulls his firearm and he's got less than 5 seconds before he pulls that trigger. Yeah. Wendy says she should have stayed in the house, and she should have. They called the police. The police were en route. I don't know
Right.
how the police
She came
got
running
there
out after
so
somebody.
fast, honestly. But the police got there quickly. And then, of course,
It's so tragic, really. It's
it is.
16.
And it's, you know, nobody likes to see the police shoot somebody. Black, white, red, yellow, doesn't matter. Nobody likes to see the police shoot anybody. Of course, the narrative and the people with the political narrative will jump all over this white on black police officer shooting. And yet they have nothing to say about the black life that was about to be taken with the knife.
Yeah.
And now they're in the streets protesting and rioting, calling for justice for Micaiah. Okay, justice for Micaiah. If Micaiah were still alive, justice for Micaiah would mean let's lock her up for attempted homicide or homicide had she actually killed the girl. That would be justice for Micaiah.
If the officer hadn't shot.
If the officer hadn't shot her.
Because she was about to plunge that knife.
Right. And she'd be going to prison. So, I mean, the officer really didn't have a good choice.
No.
He made the right choice. And he made it with professionalism and he did his job. Let's see what
Well, it seems like I saw something today earlier that said that they're now saying this was just two kids in a schoolyard.
Oh my God, it's not a school.
Wielding like knives in the schoolyard are normal.
Yeah.
And maybe they are in some communities, because I'm telling you, this world's gone to hell in a handbasket in some places. So
this is a blue check tweet. Valerie Jarrett says a black teenage girl named Micaiah Bryant was killed because a police officer immediately decided to shoot her multiple times in order to break up a knife fight. Demand accountability. Fight for justice.
What did she want to happen?
Here's another good one. Defund and abolish police. Refund our communities. Teenagers have been fighting fights, including fights involving knives, for eons. We do not need police to address these situations by showing up to the scene and using a weapon against one of the teenagers. Y'all need help.
They were called to the scene.
I mean that sincerely. Oh my God. I wish I could zoom in on this lady's picture. She gets the stupid little idiot award of the week. My goodness.
Somebody thought it was a bad enough fight to call the police and get here fast. Didn't she say get here now or get here fast?
Yes. And she says, we don't need the police to address these situations. Somebody called the police.
Somebody wanted the police to come.
Their blue checker.
Oh my gosh. It's such a, I don't even want to be infuriated about it, because at the end of the day, a 16-year-old lost her life because she made a very bad choice.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
I don't know what could have made her that mad, but to grab a knife and decide she's going to run out and use it.
Yeah. That's
a bad choice. That's the coping. Right. But I don't know what happened inside the house. I don't know what made her that mad.
So what about this one? This is LeBron James.
What does he do? Is he basketball?
Woke. Yeah, he's
He's a basketball player.
An LA basketball players.
Okay.
And obviously, never mind. I won't say that.
Whatever that was, you should keep that to yourself.
You're right.
Yeah.
So this is a picture of the police officer who I believe had not been yet identified, or at least his picture had not been shown. And this was the first doxing of this police officer. And he says, "You're next." Hashtag accountability. What kind of threat is that? I mean, LeBron James. So then he was interviewed and asked about that later and said, well, I deleted the tweet. Okay, not good enough there, buddy. He says, I'm so damn tired of seeing black people killed by the police. I took down the tweet because it's being used to create more hate. This isn't about one officer. It's about the entire system, and they always use our words to create more racism. I am so desperate for more accountability. You know what? You be accountable with that platform that you've got there, buddy. And
yeah, I don't think he thought that through.
No.
Because he wasn't thinking about the other black girl's life either. What did they want the cop to do? They want to run and wrestle the girl down?
Well,
But there wasn't enough time. There
um,
wasn't enough time before that knife was going to hurt the other girl.
who was it? The CNN reporter said you could shoot her in the hand, or you could shoot the knife out of her hand, like Wonder Woman.
You could also hit the girl in pink
Woman.
when you try to shoot it out of her hand.
Do what?
Well, if he had tried to shoot at the hand, he would have hit the other girl in pink.
Yes,
because her hand was right in front of the girl in pink. That bullet was.
And then there's some that say, "Well, shoot her in the leg, or you
now,
fire a warning shot."
Why would shooting her in the leg not work? Because sometimes I think that. Why couldn't you just shot her in
so
the...
let me tell you that. Let me explain that to you. For those of you that don't know why police are not trained to shoot in a leg or an arm or a hand.
Because it would seem like that could have diffused it and she wouldn't have lost her life. So I do want to know the answer.
Let's play that through. So in the academy, they will teach you, don't aim for the leg. Don't aim for the hands. Don't aim for the knee. You aim center mass. If you've got a deadly enough situation that you have to kill somebody or you have to use deadly force, then you're using force that you know can be deadly. But what you want to make sure that you do is not use deadly force and not stop the force. So if you've got a situation just like this, a knife wielding man or woman in the process of coming down and stabbing somebody,
mm-hmm.
and you try to shoot them in the leg, and you hit their leg, and it doesn't.
Her arm still comes down,
and the arm still comes down, and they still kill the person, and you hit the femoral artery. Well, they die in a matter of how long, Linda? When you hit the femoral?
Oh, it's quick. That would bleed out fast.
Yeah. How many pints of blood are there in the body?
I want to say like 7, but I'm not sure.
So how long would it take somebody the femoral artery shot through to bleed out?
Oh, probably minutes. Not long.
Yeah. So you've used deadly force, but you've tried to tame it down a little bit because you didn't really want to kill them. And you didn't stop the threat. So the person that was being stabbed got stabbed anyway. You shot the person in the leg and they died anyway. And nobody wins. Or you miss the leg and they follow through and they kill the person they're trying to kill. And
then he's criticized because he didn't do enough. So yes. It's really a no-win situation.
Right. You're never supposed to aim for an extremity to stop a threat like that. Now, I won't say that there's no time that you would aim for an extremity, because there are situations that I've seen body cams where you have a mentally ill person and they're far enough away that they're not going to hurt you and they've got a knife, or you just know that they don't really intend to hurt him, or you don't think they really intend to hurt anybody, but yet they're employing deadly force against somebody or against yourself. I mean, I won't say that there's no time you wouldn't aim for the leg, but that's not at all what they teach. And I would never aim for the leg or the arm or the shoulder or anything short of what I knew that I could hit. And the reason they tell you to aim for center mass is because it's bigger. It's center and it stops you. And if you hit somebody in center mass, which is exactly what he did. Now, she didn't have her chest to him. And so he hit her in the back. He certainly hit her in the back and then when she spun, he probably shot her 2 or 3 times in the back. And I think once in the hip as she was falling. So it was, a very terrible situation. Rick says, I love the way you and Linda hold each one accountable for everything. Yeah, we bounce pretty good off each other. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. And we have good fun on some of these videos. You ought to see us after the video's over. Sometimes we're like, what in the world? Why did you say that? You put me on the spot. But thank you, Rick. I appreciate you guys watching. Well, we just wanted to bring this to you and basically our perspective and your perspectives are similar.
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch the media play this out because it's already been interesting.
Oh yeah. And if you're out there calling for justice against this officer and you want him arrested, I don't know. You just need to move to another country.
Right. And here's the deal. Okay. So now I see they're calling, what was it? One of the colleges or something. They're calling, get your cops off our college. So people calling for defund the police. So we defund the police. And when these kind of situations arise, you don't have any police to call.
Right.
Now you've got mayhem in the streets.
Yeah. Well,
I don't understand what the end game is to all this defund the police.
It's just like one of my favorites right here. She wants to defund the police.
Well, she's out there inciting violence.
Yeah. And she's calling for the defunding of police. And she went out to have a protest about defunding the police. And she called for the police to escort her. No lie. True story.
That's just wrong.
Oh, I mean, that it's just hypocrisy.
It's hypocrisy.
Yeah. And all of these politicians, they have their own private security. I saw I forget who did it. It was either Tucker or maybe Dan Bongino. They had a list of these politicians, the squad, as they call them. And here's how much they spent on police security and private security. They have their private security. They have their police.
They just don't want us to have security.
Right. Absolutely. And they don't want you to have your guns either.
Right.
Right.
Bingo.
They're going to come for my guns.
Bingo.
Yep.
Look at you.
It's going to happen. I'm telling you. Wake up, people. If you're not awake now, and I don't mean the woke kind of wake. I mean, if you're not awake and paying attention and holding your leaders accountable and calling your Congress people and your Senate people about these bills and HR 1 and HR 8, you just need to get involved.
All
Absolutely.
Right. Now we live in Tennessee, so we pretty much have senators that are going to vote common sense to what we think common sense is.
Well, a lot of people are moving here to Tennessee from, California and some of these.
New York and California are moving in droves.
Well, they're just mass exodus from both of those cities.
Yeah.
Cities. New York.
It's sad for those cities because.
And LA.
It's just.
Well, not just LA, but California.
Oh, yeah. Their economy is just going to plummet.
And they come to Tennessee and they criticize the Republican supermajority that we have here in the legislature, and they wonder why it's so good here. It's so good here because we are fiscally responsible and we don't fund all those stupid projects that New York and California fund. And we take, we didn't need that COVID relief that they were given to all and bailing out all these states because we saw it coming. And if you go look at what our legislature did to reel in the spending last year, it's pretty amazing how well they did. I was really pleased. Rick says, David and Linda, how can we fund our protectors? Well, that's a good question.
But we have to be vocal about not defunding the police.
Right.
I don't think the majority of Americans want to defund police.
No.
So we need to come together, be vocal in big crowds that say, hey, we don't want this.
Right. And that's why we founded Stand Against Dark Blue. And I Still Have Breath is the ministry part of it. Stand Against Dark Blue is to teach people about the Blue Code of Silence and how police officers need to denounce that Blue Code of Silence and how they need to police themselves and why you need to train police officers how to police themselves. And, funding groups like that, nonprofits like that, is a good way to start. I mean, I know that's a self-serving statement right there because we have that nonprofit, but
there's got to be others just like us.
But there are others. I'm not saying that we're the only ones,
right.
But groups like that are going to lobby for the right kind of legislation. They're going to really
right. And when those groups call for people to show up, we have to show up.
We're talking over each other. When I'm talking, you're not supposed to talk.
Well, sometimes you just go on and on.
I should just do this. I can mute you if I want to.
You can. You can mute me anytime you want to, baby.
I'm sorry. What were you saying, baby? I didn't mean to talk over you.
I can't even remember at this point.
So, anyway. Well, I have lost track. I don't know what we were talking about.
Well, it couldn't have been that important then.
Yeah. It was about funding.
It was about funding groups. But my point was you were saying fund groups that do that. And I was saying, and when that group asks for people to show up.
Yeah, show up.
We have to show up in mass to be, if 10 people show up, nobody takes it seriously. If 3,000 people show up, people start listening.
Right. And,
that's peaceful protesting, not rioting and looting.
There are other groups out there that, I mean, The Back the Blue groups, I'm not criticizing them, because I do back the police officers.
Yeah.
And I support good cops. But it's a little different. Some of those people, I'm just going to say it, some of them think the cops can do no wrong. Some Back the Blue people are back the blue no matter what. And I know some people that think that the death of George Floyd wasn't criminal, and that he died of a fentanyl overdose, and he wouldn't have died had he not been on drugs. And that's what you get for doing drugs. And, shame on those people. I don't believe that. I believe that Derek Chauvin,
he was excessive.
He was beat up with power, and he laid into that knee. And he was not going to get up because a bunch of black people on the sidewalk told him to get up. And there were black and white people there. So I don't know that it was a racial thing. And I've said this before. I don't have any evidence that Derek Chauvin was a racist. And so I'm not going to say he was a racist. I'm not going to say he was a white supremacist, because I don't have any evidence of that. There was no evidence of that in the trial. None. And if y'all didn't watch the trial and you're saying he's a racist, well, you're just uninformed, because there's no evidence that he's a racist. There's evidence that he had some power and aggression issues, certainly. And a lot of cops are eat up with that power. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have in policing today, is the power that you get when you get that badge and that gun is immense. And it really takes a strong constitution to be able to do that. And not just a strong constitution, it takes Jesus. It really does take a good faith in Jesus to be able to handle that kind of power and not get eat up with it and not abuse citizens.
So what you're saying is there's a very high accountability that goes with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if you can't handle the accountability that goes with it, then you probably ought not to be a police officer.
Yeah, but some people don't want to handle the accountability. Some people just don't want the power. I know a lot of guys that were on the police force that back in the day when I was a cop, I knew that they were on the edge, and I didn't like going to calls with them. But I wasn't trained, and I didn't have the maturity level that I do today to say, Sarge, this guy over here, you probably need to get him evaluated, or to lodge a complaint. And I'm not saying that what we're asking cops to do is going to be easy, because at Stand Against Dark Blue, we have pledges for police officers to sign, and we have a pledge for citizens to sign. The ones for police officers are very difficult for cops to come to grips with, because it's admitting there's a problem in my department, admitting that there's a blue code of silence that's kept that secret for decades, and admitting that and acknowledging and promising that you're going to stand against that blue code, and you're going to denounce the blue code of silence. You're not going to keep things secret, and you're going to expose darkness as you find it. And if you see a police officer mistreating a citizen, you're going to take immediate action right then. And had those officers been trained that way in the academy, and it wouldn't take, I'm not saying it needs to be 2 or 3 weeks long of a class. You can have a day-long class and teach police officers this, and really make some big changes in policing by teaching them how to police themselves and giving them an avenue to report another officer where they can do it safely.
Well, and do they need to be able to see that they get jaded? Like, can you tell when you're getting jaded, or do you kind of need somebody to tap you on the shoulder and say, dude, I think you're getting jaded?
Cops know they get jaded. I mean, personally, they know. I knew when I left the police department, I tell people all the time, I wasn't discriminatory. I hated everybody equally. And I was, and I say that in tongue in cheek, and it's in jest, because I really didn't hate people, because I really was a Christian man. I loved people because I had the Jesus factor. But there's a lot of cops that don't have the Jesus factor. They're not Christian people, and they're eat up with power and aggression. And they put some of these officers in high crime midnights, or it doesn't have to be midnights. It can be days or evenings, but late at night, especially in these high crime areas. My zone was JC Napier and University Court for several years. And then I was in a 2-man car, and I was there for years with another partner. And then I separated off and got my own car in my own zone in Vine Hill projects. So I was in the project areas on midnights for most
years.
of the time I was a police officer, and it really did affect me.
How you does it affects how you see people?
Yes, it affects how
Yeah.
it affects how you see yourself.
Because all you see is negative all the
All
time.
you see is negative. All you see is the same people doing the same bad stuff to the same people day in and day out. And when you arrest them and see them back on the streets, the next day, it's disheartening. And so you just, you keep doing your job, and you might arrest somebody for shooting at somebody, and they're out before you're off your shift.
Mm.
And then, you arrest somebody for beating up his wife, and he's out before the next time you go on duty, and you get a call there the next night. And it's just, when you see the same bad stuff happening day in and day out, it will affect you and it will jade you. And if you're a minority, let me rephrase that. If you're a white person in a minority neighborhood, then it may affect how you see black people. So cops, especially the supervisors, sergeants, and you lieutenants out there and captains, you need to be paying attention to the people under you and how long they're in a position. Especially, police chiefs in general, the police chief in Nashville is just, he's a chief of the whole, he's not looking at individual officers and where they're assigned, but the sergeants can. And if they notice that, if they notice you're starting to get jaded or you're starting to change, and you can tell when somebody's not the way they used to be. Send me some of those groups. Let's see. Fortunate enough to be a multi-billionaire and know no arrogance regarding the above. Yeah. I know you're not a multi-billionaire. If you were, I know you would do the right thing with that money too. We simply need to protect our forces in the correct way. I agree. Wendy says, I thought it was odd that one came forward to speak on Derek Chauvin and how he was a cop when they were arrested and had to deal with him. If he was a racist, people would have come forward to speak on it. Well, I don't remember that cop. I watched almost all of the trial, so I don't remember the cop that came out. If you're talking about a cop that came out to speak for Chauvin, I didn't see that. Or maybe you're talking about the one that came out to speak against him. I don't testify against him. I don't know. I can't remember. But thank you anyway, Wendy and Rick, for commenting. It makes the show more fun when you have people on here. So that's really all we wanted to do tonight. And we'll be back tomorrow with some.
I'm sure there'll be something else happening tomorrow.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff happening. But I will say, oh, should I say it? Let me see if I can.
Probably not. If you're thinking you shouldn't say it, you probably shouldn't say it.
So tomorrow we're going to be talking about and how there is 100% treatment. It's 100% treatable. We're also going to be talking about.
Oh, you can't say that or you'll get kicked right off.
That's why I have these overlays.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about doctors who tell you not to take because is 100% treatable. And if you're not watching us, and if you're listening to us on podcast, you don't know anything about what I just did. Right. We'll just leave it to your imagination.
Right. But there are websites that you need to know about.
Yes, there are websites you need to know about.
Your doctor won't help you.
We went to a conference last week. It was eye-opening. It was one of the best conferences I've been to probably ever.
Yep. And
it just absolutely fired me up. It pissed me off, if you want to know the truth. But it did enlighten me to some things and how we have been lied to for now a year, and how much ground we've given up as patriots and Americans.
And now we have to fight to get it back.
And how we're going to have to fight to get it back. And we are going to have to fight to get it back.
Because even some of these places taking their mask mandates down, the stores won't take the sign down. So
right. Yeah.
you just go ahead and walk in without it because the city says you don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing. Because if we don't, they're never coming down. You have to fight to get your rights back.
You have to fight For your right
Wrap it up, Mr. Ridings.
party.
You're at 40 minutes.
All right. We're done. That was really all we wanted to do.
All right.
Well, thanks, guys, for watching. I appreciate you guys commenting. We'll be back tomorrow with more good fun at I Still Have Breath and
Stand Against Dark Blue.
Stand Against Dark Blue as well. So be sure to give this a thumbs up if you liked it and share it with a friend and tell other people about it who are, maybe not familiar with what we do. And if you haven't gone to YouTube, go to YouTube. When we get 100 subscribers, well, we got more than 100 subscribers now on Facebook. It's two or 300, I guess. I don't know. We got 1,200 on Stand Against Dark Blue. Don't do this. What I'm saying is go to YouTube. I Still Have Breath. And once we just opened that platform. And so there's almost no subscribers. But once we get 100, we can start doing certain things as far as going live that they won't let you do until you get 100 subscribers. So if everybody on our Facebook page would go to the YouTube page and subscribe there, it would help us. And we know you want to help us. Some of you want to help us. Some of you don't like what we stand for. That's okay. We love you guys anyway. I'm referring to the public, Wendy says. Yes, I agree. Wendy says, thanks again. See you next time. All right, guys. We love you guys. And we will be back tomorrow. You guys have a great night.